Do you ever think to yourself, or is this just a Fanny thing? I wonder how much Pokemon product is opened on a daily basis. Not necessarily like an exact number, but kind of a roundabout number of how many Pokemon products, how many booster packs of Pokemon cards are opened up every day. And we get a lot more awareness of it now than we used to because there's so much content that gets recorded, whether it be a mass opening on YouTube or you've got stories and reels and TikToks of people opening single packs, not just modern day packs, but going back to the original base set. They almost pop up every single day where a Wizards of the Coast booster pack, which is worth, $300-400, is being opened up on TikTok. And it's just crazy to me to think how many booster packs are probably getting opened up every single day. Now, obviously, there's a lot more modern Pokemon packs in existence than what we still have of vintage booster packs. But when you start thinking about all the booster packs that are being opened up every single day, you have to think eventually down the road, regardless of how much is printed, the supply on those cards, on those booster packs, has slowly got to dry up. And this is something that we've talked about on this channel before, and a lot of other content creators have talked about. And this is something that was really interesting during the pandemic because a base set booster box, for example, jumped all the way up to about $30,000 for an original base set booster box. We're not talking about the first edition one. We're talking about just the normal unlimited edition base set booster box was selling for anywhere between $28,000 and $30,000 before it really crashed back down and now kind of settled around that $14,000-15,000 mark. But because so many people thought, hey, supply on these has really got to start washing up at some point, this is going to skyrocket. And then all of a sudden it was like, hold the phone. There's a lot more of these available than I think anybody anticipated. And I think that's something that's really important to look at as you start tackling this collecting journey that you might have in Pokemon, or even a storefront or a business or whatever you might want to call it. The amount of Pokemon booster packs that have been printed is absolutely insane. And now, obviously, there's sets in the middle there that were printed far less. You want to talk about short printed sets like Dark Explorers, like Call of Legends, like some of those during the Heart Gold, Soul Silver, Diamond and Pearl era. Really after Wizards of the Coast kind of dropped off. Skyridge, obviously a very low printed set. When you start focusing on the amount of booster packs that are in existence, it's an incredibly large amount that I don't think anybody really understands, and it's something that you want to take into consideration when you start looking at the amount of rip and chips and pack breaks and all these things that are going on. Yeah, while it is a smart mindset to assume that as more booster packs get opened up, the quantity is going to diminish, and that is going to force prices to rise because people are going to still want to be able to open up some of these booster packs. They're still going to want to chase some of the cards that are inside, and eventually those packs are going to become less and less available, but it is going to take an extremely long time. We're talking about 25, 30 years ago now that some of these booster packs started getting printed when you go back to the base set, when you go back to Jungle, when you go back to Fossil. And a lot of these booster packs have really fallen off as far as price points go, or at least leveled out quite a bit. They didn't see these continued rise, that I think a lot of people anticipated. We're going to look at Sun and Moon era booster packs. And the reason I wanted to look at Sun and Moon era booster packs today is because there have been a lot of singles during the Sun and Moon era that have really popped off. There's a lot going wrong right now with Pokemon. There's a lot of bad things. I love looking at the market. I love kind of studying and seeing what happens on a daily basis. And there's a lot of things that aren't going right when it comes to Pokemon right now. A lot of cards are hitting all-time lows or year lows or trending in the downward direction. However, a lot of Sun and Moon cards are really starting to rise. So I'm going to flip you guys around so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. And we're going to go through all the Sun and Moon era booster packs. For the most part, very surprising to kind of look at some of these because a lot of them have tapered off quite a bit, which really kind of begs the question of, okay, well, is now the time I want to start buying some of these for my collection so that way I can use them maybe in the future as trade bait, or maybe I want to open up some of these somewhat older packs so that way I have the experience and I can at least enjoy opening them while they're not super expensive like what we see from, Team Up now, or some of the older black and white packs, or even going back further than that. So we're going to start off looking at Sun and Moon base, which there was a lot of Sun and Moon base printed. It came off of the whole Pokemon Go craze right at the beginning of the Sun and Moon generation. Pokemon printed a ton of products. So you're talking about Sun and Moon, Guardians Rising, Crimson Invasion, and Burning Shadows. There was an absolute ton of all that product that was printed, and there was a lot of print quality issues all over the place because Pokemon was trying to supply enough product in order to meet demand, and there were so many people kind of coming back into the hobby. Sun and Moon was one of those sets that was just printed to oblivion, and you can see that based off of the price. That's reflective of how cheap these booster packs still are. You're looking at a booster pack right now that's selling for $5.45, which is really only about $1 above MSRP, despite the fact that this set is several years old. But if you look back at the history over the past year, in July of 2022, this was sitting at MSRP. It was sitting at $4.16 for a booster pack before starting to climb and climb and climb. And then in March of 2023, it actually hit a one-year high where it basically doubled in price. It was selling for $8.27. However, that only happened for a couple weeks before backing off considerably, and now it's fallen back down to $5.45, which really isn't that bad when you consider, okay, well, some of the cards that are in Sun and Moon base have really started to skyrocket. We talked about that Lily not too long ago, that full art Lily, which is past the $100 mark, but you have other rainbow rares in there. A lot of Sun and Moon rainbow rares doing extremely well. You can pull the Umbreon, you can pull the Espeon. Sun and Moon, not a terrible set, selling at $5.45 currently, really not that bad at all. If we look at Guardians Rising is one of those sets that's actually done quietly extremely well over the past couple weeks. However, in Guardians Rising, there's not really that much stuff that you can really pull that's going to offset the price of that booster pack. Selling currently for $7.96, and that's basically where it's been for the last month or so. It did hit a high point of $8.42 at the beginning of May, but that's way better than its low point, which it hit in December of 2022, where it was at a one-year low of $5.95. But if you start looking at the cards, the potential cards that you could pull out of Guardians Rising, Tapu Lele used to be a huge pull, a regular art, a full art, even a rainbow rare selling for $40, $50, $60 during the competitive days when Guardians Rising was legal. However, after the set rotated out and expanded became a thing that didn't exist anymore, a lot of those singles really started crashing in price, and there hasn't been a whole lot of cards in Guardians Rising that have held on extremely well. We're talking about Secret Rare Energies, which have also crashed quite a bit as Pokemon continue to print more and more. However, the Guardians Rising booster pack itself has done extremely well. Burning Shadows is a very interesting one because there are some really cool cards in this set, and you would think because of the Charizard in the set that it would continue to rise. However, Burning Shadows is actually sitting at a one-year low currently for booster packs, and I think that really goes to show you how many booster packs are in existence for a set like Burning Shadows. I remember ordering Burning Shadows booster boxes, Burning Shadows sleeve boosters, Burning Shadows 3-pack blisters. We're talking about as the pandemic was kind of starting and the giant boom in Pokemon really began, Burning Shadows was readily available at distributors to order. Same thing with Evolutions. There was a lot kind of sitting in backstock all over the place because Pokemon printed so much of it. In December of 2022, it was right around that $9 mark, started shooting up and hit $10.60, which is actually really good returns. You're looking at about a 25% jump there when it hit its one-year high in April of 2023. But look what it's done over the last month and a half. It has fallen like crazy, now sitting at $8.94, which is actually a one-year low for this set, despite the fact that it does have that Rainbow Rare Charizard GX. It does have a regular art Charizard GX. It's got that really cool full art Guzma in it. It's got that full art Acerola, which has really started to climb a lot. However, booster packs really going in the opposite direction. Print quality, like I said, absolutely terrible. The next set is actually a specialty set that came out. So this was the next release during the Sun and Moon block. This is Shining Legends, which has been pretty much just consistent over the past year. You can see a big blip there in July of 2022 entering into August where it actually hit a one-year low of $22.79. But you're looking at about a 40% difference between that and then its height, which it hit in December of 2022, where it jumped all the way up to $30.68. So some pretty severe peaks and valleys when it comes to Shining Legends. It did drop off again in February before starting to climb a little bit. Now it's sitting at $28.84. Obviously some really cool cards in the Shining Legends set, all the different Shinings that were in there. If we look at Crimson Invasion, this set has actually done extremely well over the past year. One of the few sets that's just been very consistent, despite the fact that there's not a whole lot, again, that you really need to pull out of Crimson Invasion. Not a very exciting set for a lot of people. Probably the least favorite of all the Sun and Moon sets for most people. In July of 2022, this was sitting below MSRP at $4.08. You can still find quite a few booster packs of Crimson Invasion out there for decent price points, but really started rising. It leveled off a little bit from September all the way up until February before climbing all the way up to a one-year high where it hit $5.84. But you can see this passed up Sun and Moon base as not the cheapest Sun and Moon set anymore. Now it's sitting at $5.73, so it's backed off a little bit, but not doing bad at all. Ultra Prism is another set that's very interesting to look at because it has gone down so much. It almost looked like it was going to continue to climb. time, you can see in July of 2022, hovering right around that $11, $12 price point. And Ultra Prism, a little bit underprinted compared to the rest of the sets. Ultra Prism was a set where Pokemon was like, hey, wait a second. Doesn't look like Pokemon's doing as well anymore after Pokemon Go has kind of worn off a little bit. So we're going to print less of Ultra Prism, make sure that there's not as much available, and we don't have a ton of backstock. And as soon as the set came out, opening weekend, there was none left to order. It was very, very low printed compared to the rest of the sets in Sun and Moon. However, it did get an additional reprint, a lot of additional product that kind of hit the shelves, repacks and things like that when the pandemic was going on, kind of like Unbroken Bonds also. So there was additional Ultra Prism packs that came out and became available, really hurting this price point. In September of 2022, it jumped up to that $12.33 one-year high before backing off quite a bit. You can see it fall in February, rise a little bit again in May, and then drop back down. If we look at Forbidden Light, this one, not a bad set at all, but you can see not doing too well compared to where it was about a year ago. In July of 2022, it was right around that $11 mark, but then started trending downward. In December of 2022, it hit $9.89 before starting a climb back up. It looked like it was going to turn things around, hit that one-year high of $11.03, then kind of leveled off a little bit, and then went back down to about $10.63. So not a huge drop by any means, but you're looking over the past year. If you would have put money into this for your collection at any point in the past year, you're not really seeing much difference when it comes to Forbidden Light. There hasn't been a whole lot of movement on it. Celestial Storm, one of those sets that has gone backwards despite Rayquaza trying to kind of lead the way for Celestial Storm. A lot of cool full art supporters in this set as well. July of 2022 looked like it was starting to climb a little bit, hit that one-year high of $16.21, and then just really trended downward for the next 6-7 months. In February of 2023, hit that one-year low of $13.60, started recovering a little bit, but then backed off again, sitting at $13.99 currently. Dragon Majesty, another specialty set that we're going to look at. This one only had elite trainer boxes and different blisters, different things like that. Obviously no booster box for Dragon Majesty, kind of like what we talked about from Shining Legends. However, a very expensive set. It does have a couple of cool cards in it. It's got that gold Ultra Necrozma in it. It's also got a couple of full art supporters that are not bad. In July of 2022, really started trending upward. Dragon Majesty got really expensive out of nowhere, despite the fact that there's not a ton in the set that you're really looking to pull. Jumped all the way up to $40.04 in September of 2022. Before backing off quite a bit. You can see in December of 2022, started trending downward even more. In February of 2023, it hit that one-year low of $33.53, but now it's rebounded extremely nicely, and it's actually approaching its one-year high again, sitting at $38.87. It's very interesting looking at the back half of Sun and Moon because it's performing much better than the front half of Sun and Moon, despite the fact that these sets came out much more recently than the original Sun and Moon sets, the first half of that generation. Lost Thunder is the next one that we're going to look at. This one has recovered fairly nicely for a lot of additional stock that kind of hit the market. A lot of booster boxes that got found somewhere on a container ship or something like that, where distributors were able to start dispersing those to different LGSs. A lot of build and battle boxes, things like that, which really kind of dented the market when it came to booster packs and booster boxes for Lost Thunder. But it has rebounded extremely nicely. You can see it trending upwards for the back half of 2022, where in September of 2022 it did hit that one-year high of $10.93 before backing off quite a bit, and then in December of 2022 dropped like a rock down to that one-year low of $9.78, but it's recovered extremely well, starting to perform well, really starting to consistently move in the upward direction, sitting at $10.67 currently. Lost Thunder, a really cool set. Nothing can really stand up to what Team Up is doing right now. It's absolutely insane. Team Up, one of the only sets from that back half of the Sun and Moon block that didn't get any reprints at all, just kind of had to deal with the amount of product that was already in existence. Lots of cool alternate arts, obviously lots of cool tag teams, which are all the buzz. I was watching some content creation videos involving tag teams. It's just crazy how much interest there is right now in sets like Team Up, Unbroken Bonds, Unified Minds. It's a little bit much, if you ask me. Very consistent from July of 2022 all the way up to February of 2023, selling right around that $20 mark. You can see that $19.75 one-year low in December of 2022, but then in March of 2023 really started to take off. It jumped all the way up to $31.08 for a booster pack. You're talking about 10 10 Pokemon cards, not a guarantee of getting an ultra rare or an alternate art or anything like that, selling for $31.08. Obviously very crazy, but the dream, I guess, is to open up a $31 pack and pull that alternate art Latias and Latios, which is it's not an easy pull, but $31.08 is where it's sitting right now, a one-year high for that. If we look at Detective Pikachu, another specialty set, not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because it just hasn't moved. The needle really hasn't moved at all. In July of 2022, right around $9, jumped up in September of 2022, closer to that $10 mark, and then dropped back down in December of 2022. It's basically been hovering right around $9.40 for the past year. Not a whole lot of movement in this one. Obviously, you only get 4 cards in that Detective Pikachu set. Unbroken Bonds heading in the opposite direction, which is super interesting. July of 2022, it was sitting at a one-year high of $14.54. So not a huge difference as far as dollar value goes from its high to its low, but definitely trending in the downward direction. You're still looking at about 10% that it's lost over the past year. Dropped all the way down in September of 2022 to about $13.50 before rising back up over $14. Then came back down, went up a little bit. Now it's sitting at $13.32, so closer to that one-year low, despite some pretty cool cards in the set, including some alternate arts, Charizard, different things like that. Unified Minds has done extremely well over the past year. Again, another set that did get a little bit of a reprint during the middle of the pandemic. July of 2022 started trending upwards a little bit, backed off in September of 2022 to that one-year low of $9.48. But over the past 9 months, it's been nothing but consistent, just real consistent growth, hitting $14.36 currently. So that's a one-year high. Obviously, it's got that Umbreon and Darkrai, really cool set. Doesn't have the alternate art in, but does have some cool alternate arts in it, but not the Umbreon and Darkrai. That's in the collection box. But still, some really cool cards and Unified Minds doing extremely well. Obviously, the Mewtwo and Mew. We talked about Hidden Fates last week. Hidden Fates doing extremely well, especially from a booster pack standpoint. And there's not a whole lot of booster boxes and booster packs that are available currently on TCG Player. So we might see that needle move even more yet. It might continue to trend in that upward direction. In September of 2022, it was sitting at a one-year low of $15.47. It's just continued to climb since then. Hit $18.85 as a one-year high a couple weeks ago. Now it's sitting at $18.77. Cosmic Eclipse is very interesting because it seems like so much Cosmic Eclipse has hit the market. It was in those D21 Pokeballs. It was in the Arceus figure collection. Now it's in the Orbital VMAX collection boxes that have been circulating all around at different targets. Just something that's somewhat available for people to find at a relatively cheap price point, but the pack prices and the singles that are inside continue to rise. You can see in July of 2022, Cosmic Eclipse sitting at $9.25, started climbing a little bit, backed off a little bit. December of 2022, it was back down to about $10, jumped up in March of 2023. It almost hit that one-year high. It was right around $14.30 before backing off a little bit again in May, and then jumped up again to $14.41 where it's sitting right now. So a one-year high for Cosmic Eclipse. It'll be very interesting to see what happens with Cosmic Eclipse moving forward, because there has been so much that has kind of just been placed into the market, and yet Cosmic Eclipse, because of the tag team trend right now, just continues to rise. So that's all the Sun and Moon era booster packs. Very interesting to look at, but I do want to get your take. Let me know what you think about the amount of product that gets opened, if you think this is natural, what you all see happening with a lot of these Sun and Moon era sets. I don't think there has been nearly as much Sun and Moon product printed as what we've seen from Sword and Shield. Obviously, the demand during the entire Sword and Shield era was much, much higher. You don't see booster pack prices like this during the Sword and Shield era, except for a set like Evolving Skies. It'll be interesting to see what happens during the next 5, 10, 20 years of Pokemon, especially as more and more packs get opened up, which has to be just a crazy amount. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen. If you do enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button down below, leave a like, leave a comment, share the video. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for everything. I'll talk to you again in a couple days. Until then, peace.